Data acquisition is probably the most important feature that Mango Automation provides. Without incoming data, there's very little that Mango can do for you. One of the first things you're going to want to do when you're setting up and configuring Mango is learn how our data acquisition system works and learn how to create connections to external PLCs and devices. There's a lot you can do with this, so we're going to cover several topics over several videos. But to start off with, we're going to cover a general overview of the data architecture. And there's a few terms that we need to clarify. The two main terms that we need to have a good understanding of are data sources and data points. This is a simple graphic to show you the structure. At the top, we have Mango, which is the whole system. Then we have the data sources, which are the data connections to external data. Data sources can also be connections to internal data and things like metadata, which we'll go into in further courses. Data sources can be almost anything, and Mango can be extended to connect to different types of data sources. It comes prepackaged with a number of built-in and more popular protocols, such as Modbus, BACnet, and many others, like HTTP, SQL, SNMP. We'll go into those in a little bit. The main concept here is just to understand how this works. So when you're connecting to an external device, one of the first things you're going to need to know is what is the protocol or the method that you're going to talk to that device. Is it a BACnet device? Is it a Modbus device? Or does it support one of the other protocols? For the purpose of this course and most of our future courses, we're going to assume that if you're working with a Modbus device or a BACnet device, that you already have knowledge of those protocols. We're not going to go into a lot of training on the Modbus protocol or BACnet protocol, as that information can be received in other places. But we will cover these topics on how it relates to Mango. So within each type of data source, you then have data points. And a data point is going to represent an individual value inside of a controller or device. So if we're talking to a PLC, that PLC may have several data points. It may have a pressure reading, a temperature reading, humidity reading. As we discussed in our previous course, there are 4 basic types of data points that Mango can read: numeric, binary, alphanumeric, and multi-state. The other important thing to understand is that once data points are created in the Mango system, it doesn't matter what protocol that they use. So the data sources and the protocols are a layer in between. But when you're using data points or viewing them on a watch list or a point details page or using them in a graphic or anywhere else, they're just data points. The actual protocol doesn't matter as much and is fairly transparent to the end users. So as you'll see when we go into this, when you're configuring data points, there are some settings that are universal to all data points, regardless of the protocol. And then there are some settings that are specific to the protocol. We're now logged into our demo system on the data sources page. So the first thing that we can do is we can hide the left menu if we want to have more space to work with. The list on the left is the list of all the data sources that we have. And you'll see it will tell us the protocol and information about the connection type, depending on which sort of protocol. To the right of the name of the data source is the enable/disable switch. In this current position, this indicates that the data source is enabled and is functioning. If we click on this, it will be disabled and this data source will not function. So all polling or other actions that the data source performs will be disabled when the switch is off. As we click on a data source and select it, the information and configuration about it is loaded on the right-hand side. To create a new data source, we just click on the new, and then from the drop-down list, we can select the desired protocol. The specific protocols installed are going to depend on which modules you have installed, so your list might be different. Let's take a look at the configuration of some of these demo data sources. In the upper right-hand corner is going to be the help. This help covers information about the general data sources that I'm covering here. You'll also see question marks throughout the page, which will open up help specific to the feature where the question mark appears. So we'll notice as we go into perhaps purge settings, you'll see another question mark which will be specific for the purge settings. The Data Points tab shows us all of the individual data points that are connected to the data source. In the case of Modbus, these will be all of the holding registers that are polled whenever the data source polls. Something that's important to notice is the filter icon. You may not have this enabled. This turns on and off the ability to filter, which is quite handy. On any of these columns, I can filter the list. With the filtered list, I can do bulk action changes by clicking Edit. And anything that all of the points have in common will show up. So if I want to change the device name, user permissions, tags, Modbus points, you'll see all of that can then be edited for all of the points. I can create a new data point by clicking the Add button and filling out the various properties. The most important thing to start with is the device name and the name. By default, the device name will be the name of the data source, but you can customize this depending on your needs. Device names and names act as our two universal tags throughout the system. You can add additional tags on the Tag tab, such as something like this. I've added a equipment type tag with the value of generator. This can also now be used to filter and sort and find these data points. Again, you'll see the question mark. If I want to understand these settings better, I can open up the help. Logging properties are found here with a useful help and information about all the different types of logging. It's important to differentiate the difference between polling and logging, because a data source can poll at a different rate and log at a different rate, and these two work together to populate your database. Most of the actions that you can do on the data points can be done in bulk, so we can select multiple data points and we can delete or edit these. You can also select which columns you want to see. As you can see, there's a lot of different columns to select from, so depending on how you want to filter and sort through your data points, you may want to use different columns or turn some of the columns off that are not being useful. We can also add tags so that the tags can be displayed. We can now download these data point configurations in a CSV file. In the CSV, we can now also make bulk changes, and you can see we can change this action to update, create, or delete. We can completely configure all of the Modbus points here. We can save this as a CSV and then upload it. To upload, you can click the Upload button and select the file, or depending on your browser, you may be able to just drag the file over the page and have it uploaded automatically. This is very useful for creating data points in bulk or replicating systems. Here we can export the JSON configuration of the data source or the data source and all of the data points. In a different section of our documentation, you'll find more information on protocol-specific actions to help you understand how to use Modbus and the tools better. I hope this video helps you get started configuring your data sources and data points. This is your first step to getting your Mango system going. Thanks so much.